Well, that was something. After 10 years, Netflix's most popular original series has officially wrapped up. Every time a new season of Stranger Things dropped was like an event to me. It was always at an exciting point in my life, and getting to binge through an entire new season with friends and family was just a ton of fun. It's actually crazy to me that the show and characters pretty much grew up with me. Regardless of how you feel about the show, you gotta respect and acknowledge the insane impact it had on pop culture. I've loved most of the show, and I've been super excited to see how it finally wraps everything up, especially after how genuinely great season 4 was. And this season, it was okay, it was fine. I don't think it was unwatchable or anything, like how a lot of people seem to be complaining, just constantly shouting mid about every single thing that happened. I do have a ton of issues and nitpicks with what this season did, mostly towards the end, but there were also, some high points sprinkled in. The thing that's most disappointing is that this season as a whole is just passable. The other 4 seasons are so great that when the last one is just fine or okay, it really stands out and just paints a different picture. More than anything, though, the Duffer Brothers just need to shut up, man. For as much as they hyped up this season, with the years they had to figure out everything, they've been in interviews recently saying things that make them seem so lazy as showrunners. For example, in the finale, when characters get to the Abyss, there's a noticeable lack of demogorgons, demodogs, demobats, whatever, creatures in general, right? A lot of people pointed that out, how barren it seems, with many people suggesting that the Mind Flayer is made of all the creatures fused together to make a fleshy physical version. To me, that's just kind of coping, but the Duffer Brothers actually had an answer to that, and what did they say? Vecna just wasn't expecting a surprise attack on his home turf. Never in a million years would he expect something like that. They're out there somewhere. What? Vecna, who looked into Eleven's mind to see their entire plan, which is how he saw it through Kali's illusion, and then also used that to show Hopper an exact moment from Elle's memories, just forgot what they were gonna do? He looked through her entire mind and just skimmed over the part where they were going to surprise attack him in the Abyss. Another thing they've said is that Joyce and Hopper realized Henry was someone they knew in high school off screen. We had to walk a fine line with the play. We didn't want to frustrate our audience because so much of the audience has been unable to see it. What? What are we talking about? We get to see Joyce in high school through Henry's memory and the flyer for their play they're both in, but a scene where Joyce realizes how she knew Henry is too much? All the nonsense with the cave and the magic mind flayer rock isn't too much, but a conversation between Hopper and Joyce about their classmate is? But, those are just some issues with the season as a whole. What about the finale? Yeah, it was fine, I guess. The epilogue, which was almost half of the finale, was really good. Since we finally get to see these characters we've cared about for so long go back to a normal life and finally be happy for once. Hopper and Joyce getting that date at Enzo's and Hopper proposing was really sweet. He also proposes with the exact same ring Jonathan was going to propose to Nancy with, by the way. Not sure if that's intentional or if it's, reusing the same prop. The kids graduating and Dustin's speech, and then Dustin doing exactly what Eddie had wanted to do. Max and Lucas getting that movie date together. Steve coaching a little league team with Derek on the team. And that last scene in Mike's basement, wrapping up every character's journey. It was all emotional and mostly earned after everything in the last 5 seasons, but that's just the epilogue. The epilogue was always going to land because it has 4 really good seasons before season 5 to build upon. What about the final battle itself? The actual conclusion to the story that was built and set up in this season. Honestly, it was kind of terrible. The Steve death fake out was so dumb. Not only did I call that out on my bingo card from last video, which, by the way, we hit bingo, let's go, I guess, but the way it was written and executed, with a cut to black in the middle of the moment, come on, man. It feels like the writers have moved on from actual stakes and a satisfying narrative to just make Avengers Endgame, let's all cheer and yell and point at the screen level slop. And then the fight with the Mind Flayer in the Abyss is so quick, and it has little to no weight to it. All of our characters are in an entirely new dimension, one that's supposed to be the home of all these dangerous monsters and go toe-to-toe with a kaiju-sized mind flayer. But nobody ever seems, I don't know, on edge or surprised, excited, scared even to be in a new dimension. None of them seem to take what's going on seriously, especially for the scale of what they are fighting. I don't know, I just found everyone weirdly calm for what was going on, even during the fight. The Abyss also visually looks like butt and ass. I cannot believe they had a $400 million budget, and every single shot in The Abyss looks like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. None of the characters ever blend with the environment at all, and the color grading is so dog. And I already mentioned it, but there's no Demogorgons here, no nothing. No Uzi, no Cardi, no nothing? And then after seasons of these monsters and Vecna himself being almost bulletproof, essentially, you're telling me the Mind Flayer, the big bad of all these monsters, can't take a single clip from an AR 500 feet away? L showing up, doing that huge leap into the Mind Flayer, ripping it open, and rolling into an attack on Vecna, that was pretty sweet. I can't lie, that was awesome. It really made me think we're about to have a full-on, exciting final battle between the main hero and the main villain. But no, Vecna just kind of does nothing and dies. L gets tossed around, the Mind Flayer trips because it got shot from hundreds of feet away, then Vecna gets tossed around once, gets put against a spike, and then Will takes over, makes him stop attacking L, and is like, "We're not afraid of you anymore," and then he just dies. That's it. That's literally it. Perhaps I treated you too harshly, It Chapter 2 ending. I really thought it can't be that easy, and expected Vecna to catch them off guard with some sort of twist while they were saving the kids, but no, it was that easy. How did we end the show with no more comparisons between Will and Henry? Why doesn't Will feel anything from the Mind Flayer being attacked or from the Mind Flayer dying? He could feel Vecna's hand when he was shot in a memory, and would feel any damage done to the Demogorgons, but the source of everything itself, he can just be cut off from that just in time, right when it dies? Joyce being the one to chop his head off is a good choice, but showing every single character in a close-up shot and then flashing back to how Vecna hurt each of them was really goofy. Especially Mike's flashback, it just being him being sad Elle disappeared in season 1, versus all of his friends having flashbacks of people they know dying or people they love being, virtually tortured. Pretty much the only thing I really liked about this whole climax in the Dimension X Abyss whatever is Will trying to reason with Henry, which at first comes off so cliche, but Henry completely refusing was a good choice. I like that he was too far gone and just completely disagreed with what Will was saying. It's not a great moment, since most of it is leaning into that tired trope of, you aren't the bad guy, you can change, it's not your fault. But I am very glad they avoided it. Vecna overall, just as a character, this whole season, felt nerfed and underutilized. He was so active every single episode of Season 4, snapping limbs, popping out eyeballs, and would attack from literally anywhere in Hawkins he could. Now he can't win a tug-of-war game with Derek. This season, aside from the Mr. What's-It scenes that took place in his own mind, he shows up at the Maxi, manipulates Hopper into shooting the tank. Oh, wait, that's it. That's actually it. That's all he does all season. It's a shame because Jamie Campbell Bower is so good as this character. And when he's actually given well-written scenes, Vecna is a great, imposing villain. He just gets nothing to do this season. And you'd think that limited screen time is because they gave so much of that screen time to the original kids, or even Joyce and Hopper, to build on these characters one last time before they're gone. But no, half of the season is genuinely wasted on pointless plot lines made to just keep the story stagnant until things could actually happen in the finale. Not even to build up to a climax where 3 main plot lines combine, 2 of them just don't matter at all. Now that the season's over, I can finally say it. The Mr. What's-It stuff was so stupid. What was the point? He needed exactly 12 kids for 12 spires to what? He needed them as vessels? For what? Why was Willie ever even kidnapped? What was the significance of doing whatever his plan was on November 6th? Why did he try to do it 2 times now? Why is his Boy Scouts badge the same number as the date? I don't even think the Duffers know. That's another thing that they dropped in an interview, annoyingly, just that there is no significance to any of that. And on top of that, because they focus so much on these new missing kids, we now have to toss in these 12 characters we've never met that all of a sudden we have to care about being saved. Sure, Derek is funny and all, but I'd rather, I don't know, have a plot line for Mike or Lucas at any point in this season. Holly had never been that important through the entire show, but now she's one of, if not the most important character of the season, just because? The fact that she got more screen time than any of the original 4 boys is mind-boggling. Like, imagine how much more involved this all would have felt if Mike was taken instead of Holly. We would have been scared for him because we knew what Vecna had done to Max, and it would be a good plot device to give Will another connection to Vecna, as well as tie into his feelings for Mike. But instead, Vecna takes younger kids because they're weak and easily manipulated? Manipulated into what? You have them in a trance. You already have them. All you manipulate them into doing is holding hands. I don't get it. If it had actually built to anything or had any effect on the final climax of the show, I would feel completely different. But the entirety of the Mr. What's-It plot just ended up being the show dragging its feet at all times. And then there's the military plotline. Other than to reintroduce Kali, who ended up being barely a character, and make a slight retcon to how they got their powers, what was the point? I don't even think the writers know, since they don't even bother to conclude it. The military just disappears and lets everyone leave after they think 11 is gone. They just vanish. And again, not to keep harping on my bingo, but absolutely called it with the 11 fake out in the waterfalls. All I needed was Mike to get a postcard or something from there, and I would have been the Stranger Things prophet. Dr. K just wants to restart Brenner's program because Hopper and 11 wouldn't kill Dr. K, the one directly threatening them, in charge of this program trying to kill Elle. They just knock her out. But Elle will snap other soldiers' necks and make one shoot himself. And if we're going to do a whole season's worth of the military wants 11 again, where was Dr. Owens? He doesn't exist this season. Not like, I get he wouldn't have been in Hawkins, he wouldn't have been able to, but he's not even mentioned. The Duffer Brothers constantly promised that every loose thread would be tied up and that all the questions would be answered after this episode, but I feel more confused than ever. The worst part is, that confusion isn't even intentional. It's not from a crazy plot twist ending, it's just from the show being straight up lazy. Like, how does the prop department and editor somehow not realize the handle at the squawk was 2 different colors in 2 different shots? $400 million show. It's so underwhelming to see a show that was on fire season after season fall off so hard. To me, that underwhelming feeling comes from a few bad habits of the Duffers, relying too heavily on big moments to carry otherwise nothing burger episodes, being too attached to characters to have any stakes at all, and seemingly coming into this season with no plan. Sure, every other season feels like its own separate new story building on the foundation of seasons before it. Every new season is like a new plan, but this time around it felt like there was nothing going on, with side stories that didn't affect the ending or straight up were just dropped and not mentioned again. The ending that should have been a home run, a reminder of why this show was as huge as it is, instead left the series ending on a whimper, a shell of what it once was. Or, like something like that. Let me know your thoughts on the Stranger Things finale in the comments. I've definitely still got a lot to say and would love to talk about it with you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe if you aren't already, and thank you for watching all the way to this point. And thank you guys for 1,000 subscribers. That is insane. It might not seem like a crazy milestone, but to me, it really means the world. Here's to hoping that 2026 gets even crazier on this channel. I got a lot of videos I want to make. But yeah, thank you guys again, and I will see you in the next one.